sucks! Hey!
The Lost Start with Andrew Cox podcast. Marine Corps League and Till Valhalla Project Ambassador. Now streaming on all major podcast platforms. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast that has given a voice to our veterans. The Lost Start with Andrew Cox. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast, that podcast giving a voice to our veterans. I'm your host, Andrew Cox, and today we're having a veteran story. But before we get into the episode, are you enjoying the podcast? And make sure you go to the website. That's thelostart.podbean.com. Go check us out, see what we're all about. There is a merchandise tab there. You can go in there, get you a cool shirt, man. You can get you a hat. Maybe you want like a whiskey mug or a coffee mug, whatever way you want to say it. But go in there. Whatever you get, help support us and getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. Also, a big shout out to the Till Valhalla Project out there doing some amazing things. If you don't know anything about them, go to their website. That's tillvalhallaproject.com.
Major Lee Stuckey. We've been blessed to bring in thousands and thousands of veterans and first responders and save hundreds from suicide. We don't want to be a handout, and we want to be a hand up with our four pillars, which are physical, financial, emotional, and for me, most importantly, spiritual. And give them a good, healthy foundation in a safe, sober environment for a 4-day event.
Are you a Marine veteran? Are you missing that bond you had on active duty? Then I have a place for you. Join the only congressionally chartered Marine Corps Veteran Service Organization, the Marine Corps League. Get that brother and sisterhood back in your life. Become one of the fewer, the prouder, a Marine Corps League member. All right, we're back. I got my guest here. This is Master Sergeant retired Ryan Rathbun. How you doing?
Excellent, Andrew. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited that you're here. I'm getting more and more Air Force guys coming on, which is exciting. I get to hear, a bunch of different outlooks on how things are and what you guys do, because I don't know a lot about the Air Force, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, we're there. We're part of the DOD. A little bit different.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, hey, I guess we'll start where we do with everybody. Like, where did you grow up? What was that like? And then kind of what drew you into military service?
Yeah, so I was born in 1981. I was a Navy brat.
Okay.
My father was actually deployed on the USS Enterprise when I was born, right? So he was a Navy helicopter pilot,
Very
active
cool.
duty. Yeah, and just grew up kind of, in the elementary school early days, all over California, Florida, back to Cali, Hawaii.
Yeah.
So just a whole lot of that West Coast, moving every 2.5, 3 years, classic active duty military family stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And now, did you enjoy that aspect of growing up and everything? I did a special with my girl when it was a month of the military child. So she came on and talked about being a military kid and stuff like that. Did you have a hard time with it?
No, man, I liked it. I think my personality is a little more extroverted, and when you start living that life, you get good at making friends quick. You get out there, and I had great parents that were supportive of me and my activities and all that. So when I did finally settle, kind of in my like middle school, like the adolescence, teen years, my father was out of active duty and still in the reserves, but that's where we ended up settling in Washington State.
Oh, wow. Okay. And now that's a beautiful area, by the way, Washington State. Man, you guys got some incredible fishing up there.
Yeah, we do. We got a lot of incredible stuff and a lot of unremarkable things as well, but that doesn't have to do with the nature. So you're 100% accurate on that one.
Very nice. Well, I'm assuming you know your dad being in Navy, that's kind of gave you a boost of, hey, this is something that you want to do in the military. But what drew you to the Air Force?
That's a funny story. So actually, I'm third generation.
Hmm.
My maternal grandfather was in the end of World War II in Korea in the
Okay.
Navy. Um, and then my paternal grandfather was in the Air Force during World War II as well.
Oh, okay.
He was basically doing the government's IBM work. So
Mm,
he was computer engineering
yeah.
back in the 40s, back when it was in a building the size of my house, right?
Yeah.
So just kind of wild stuff. And then I have multiple uncles that were helicopter pilots as well as my dad. So there's just this big, it's kind of big family draw to it, right? It
Hmm.
was, that's military service was a thing. My mom was in the Air Force as well,
Hmm.
briefly for a few years, and
Okay.
so it was it was always there, and I was always kind of
Yeah.
exposed to it, and then growing up, I was not interested in the Air Force whatsoever. I think I grew up myself. Other kids that like any stick's a gun, every pine cone's a grenade.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not setting booby traps and stuff. Like I'm going full Green Beret, Navy SEAL,
Yeah.
in my playtime. But so yeah, it wasn't a thought until after college. So I did 1 year of
Okay.
college right out of high school,
Yeah.
and I hated it. I hated the academic part. I liked playing rugby and drinking beer in Canada, right? So it wasn't fruitful, right? So I was kind of floundering, and the Thanksgiving after I left college, right? I didn't go back the second year and was just working.
Yeah.
My uncle was the commander of the 304th Rescue Wing down in Portland,
Oh,
Oregon,
okay.
and that's a pararescue Air Force Special Forces PJ unit.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, we were kind of talking over Thanksgiving dinner, and he's like, "Well, what are you thinking? What are you into?" And I'd grown up wrestling, doing multiple sports, still pretty fit, and was into paramedicine, right? And I was
Yeah.
thinking toward being a paramedic or moving in that direction. And he was like, "Well, hey, I have a dubious solution to all your problems." And,
It's
yeah,
the
his
way it
words.
works.
So I was like, okay, say more, say more. And so yeah, it was, he kind of pitched it, and I ended up meeting with, the one of the PJs down there, one of the senior active duty guys. It
Okay.
was a reserve unit, but he's a full timer, and kind of getting out the lay of what it was and what it took, and ended up training for 6 months to try and get in, and
Nice.
get accepted, like pre-selected, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
And
And that was
so
before you joined. You were doing
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
no, definitely. They try and set you up for success, right? It's just a lot of money.
Hmm.
It's a guy in a billet, and a slot, and it's a
Yeah.
really long training program, right?
Hmm.
To get you squared away and out. And so yeah, did all that, came in on a reserve contract to go directly from
Okay.
basic training into that program. And so that's kind of what happened. It was
Very nice.
yeah, I just got set up, and then I wanted it bad enough initially, so that was do the 20-year-old kid, like, leave on your own for the first time, go to basic in San Antonio, you
Yeah.
know,
So
Lackland Air
now,
Force Base.
now tell me a little bit about when you go down to your basic training. I mean,
Oh,
you'd been working out a little bit, right, beforehand. So I'm
yeah.
sure the physical aspect of it was pretty easy.
Oh, in the Air Force? Yeah, man, very easy, very
Yeah.
easy. It's like any other branch of service that you either hear from other vets or stuff, and that their attention to detail, they do
Yeah.
break you down to build you up,
Yeah.
and the brainwashing program's pretty good, right? Depending on
Hmm.
how
Yeah.
susceptible you are, or maybe you show up motivated, so you're like, I was down to party when I got here. Let's do it, right? But it's it is I gotta assume it's a little softer but it gets even better. So I'm there on a special forces contract,
Right.
and get off the bus, right? Get lined up, get yelled at, just like the Army, the Marines, right? Stand on,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit of a shark attack, and then it's raise your hand if you play an instrument.
Yeah.
I don't play an instrument, man. Raise if you did in high school. All right, some more hands go up. All right, I mean, raise a hand if you have in the last 5 years. And I was like, well, I guess I played, 5th through 8th grade, the middle school band action, tooting on a trumpet. So I'm like, I'm not gonna lie. So integrity check, I raised my hand, and they're like, you stand over here. Well, I had inadvertently gotten myself selected for the band flight. So
no kidding.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, brother. So not only is the Air Force a little soft, I'll say it. I'm in the band flight where you don't really march for hours drilling. You hoof it over to an air conditioned portable building and sit there and practice your playing instruments because you're the marching band for all the graduation ceremonies.
Oh, wow.
So it made it even, it was such a scurvy deal, man. It made it even easier. Just like, what a sham. So
that is awesome.
Yeah, no, it was super funny.
I didn't know they did that. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, at least in the Air Force, right? I can't speak for anybody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so I think we marched in obviously our own graduation, but like three or four others.
Oh,
and
wow.
Then even, and then even when it was summer, when I was there, late spring, early summer, we in April, May, we were out doing like 2 or 3 parades on a Saturday in the community. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. Well, it's San Antonio, man, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
20 some years ago. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was fun. It was kind of like just one of those, like, just odd, just weird basic training stories. You're like, we're not marching all day constantly. They're like, no, you guys have rhythm. You play instruments. You can march,
you can
right?
March.
and then they, the other kids who didn't, they just kind of put a trumpet in their hand with no mouthpiece or had them bang on a drum. Did you not? It's wild.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a first for me. I've never heard anything like that. I mean, that's amazing to me. It's good though. Good story.
Yeah. Right. That was, it was interesting. So, I mean, it's just funny. It's just, it's so silly, to think. So, but in the meantime, right. It's just the regular, the standard, huge Air Force base. And that's all basic trainees go to Lackland. So that's one of those, like,
right.
It's that kind of place, that military base.
Very nice. Now, and then it was, what is it? 8 weeks?
Yeah. Well, it's they kind of have a rainbow week where you're just in civilian clothes and they're kind of filling up the class. And
I see.
Then it's 7 weeks of actual basic training.
Got it. Okay. Very nice. Now, you had the contract. So after boot camp, what happens to you? You go directly to Special Forces training, or how's that work?
Yeah. For PJs, combat control, and EOD, you go kind of a kitty corner off Lackland to a base called Medina, and it's like a little sister base attached. It's essentially attached to Lackland. It'd be like Camp Murray off of JBLM here in Washington or something like that,
Gotcha.
And so they have a PJ schoolhouse, and that's when the fun starts, right? So got there, kind of had a 0 week, which was pretty low key. You get messed with a little bit, but it was basically more waiting for other people to kind of fill up the class, right? Of however many they got. And I think we started with only 10 or 12 when I initially went through, and then I only made it 2 weeks. So 20 years old. I was doing pretty well in most things, and then there's some other activities. Like fin swimming with you can't tell looking at me now, but I have some bony girl ankles, man. So flipping around with these giant 70s, fins. They're not
Yeah.
flippers. It's a dolphin, right? So it's it's there's a lot of it I was good at and loved, and then there's a lot where just you're a young kid. You think you have options, and so you punch out, right? You wash out.
Yeah.
So I had basically, like a 0 week, and then made it 2 weeks, and kind of washed out at the end of week 2 of that 10 week selection process.
Okay. So what was it? You said it was the fins and in the water and having problems there is what kind of told you, no, I'm good.
Well, I mean, it's a stressful environment, and you're there with it's a totally different dynamic. So you're there with prior service people. Like I was there with a Navy corpsman,
Oh wow,
Army Ranger, a couple of prior service Air Force guys from like tech sergeant down to like a senior airman.
Oh wow.
There's a couple of youngsters like us, the 19, 20-year-old kids. And then there's a few other classes that are cycling in and out, people who have made it out of indoc or indoctrination and stuff. So, I mean, there's some there's some grown ass men mixed with some kids. Right. And, and so the stress, the instructors are PJs. So there are guys who have fully done all this and have deployments and saves and have been in combat and stuff. And this is pre 9/11. Right. So, I mean, these guys are and hilarious too, but also just, it's the, just in your stuff, and you're getting smoked. So it's one of those deals where, like, at some point you're going to go unconscious underwater and have to get revived. I mean, I came close really twice. Once pretty much kind of did. And then, just that stress building up. And then you're 20, you think you have options. I'm like, I'm a smart guy. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go finish college and go to med school or whatever I told myself in a moment of weakness. And basically while I was getting waterboarded on the side of a pool doing flutter kicks, I mean, hose in the face mask and snorkel, like, just breathe through it and keep going. It was like, nah, man. I'm like, this is enough. Just popped up and washed out. And I mean, really regrettable. Right. And at the time, probably one of my few great regrets, but I think it was, in totality, it was God's will. And, I wasn't,
absolutely.
I wasn't meant to be doing that. And, maybe I go back at 22, 24, things are different, or if my circumstances were a little different, but it was a good experience, man. And, it was definitely something I think I could have done, but absolutely failed and didn't do. And so that was a motivator later in life too, when it came to
very nice
doing other stuff we'll probably get to.
Oh yeah, for sure. So once you left that, where did you end up going?
So went back to Lackland, kind of across the street, went back kitty corner, and there's a reserve liaison office there. And so basically I'm just kind of floating around in a, I don't know, it's weird, like purgatory dorm. And their reserve liaison at Lackland is talking to like the recruiter and back at Portland at Portland International, it's Air National Guard base, but there was a reserve side to it. Yeah. And so they were like, well, you're here, you graduated. Why do you don't want to waste all that. Keep you on the payroll. Here's these options, right? Here's a list of what you could do. And I was like, well, if you can get me into something medical or being a medic, I'll stay in, right? I'll stay in the reserves. Yeah. Otherwise they would have just tore up my contract and sent me home. So they had 2 openings, and it was flight medicine or just regular, the 4NO medical services technician. So I took that, and then, within a week or two, I was off to North Texas to go to medic school.
Yeah. And that's a huge change from the PJ course to going through that. There's a lot of schoolwork and things of that nature going through the medical side.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was, I mean, it's, there's still, AETC Air Education Training Center. So very much regimented and
Mm-hmm.
and strict and by the book, and there's a lot of cadre running around. But yeah, again, it's all the instructors or NCOs that were, you know, serving as medics before that, right? So
Right.
yeah, you know, a lot of learning, getting you know, basically real basic cursory kind of anat and physiology, and then
Mm-hmm.
the bulk of it was like 3 months of the National Registry EMS course.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of a little opening, like, hey, the leg bone's connected to the hip bone, and
Yeah.
then you get into this, and then yeah, all built up for that big, you know, the NREMT, National Registry EMT, you know, practical test and written
Right.
test. And
Okay.
yeah, and so in crazy fashion, we all know where we were. Um, just after marching my flight to the schoolhouse on September 11th, 2001, to take my
Yeah.
national registry test, we walk in the doors and the first plane had hit the tower.
Wow. So you were
Yeah,
going in for your test,
yeah, I
and
was
that's
going
when
in
it
to
went
take
down.
that
Wow.
150 question test. Yeah, so yeah,
Man, I bet that messed with your mind a little bit, getting ready for the test.
oh man, you want to talk about regrets? Talk about regrets not being in PJ school.
Oh, yeah.
That was when it hit hard. I was like, well, I could have been, ugh, you know.
Yeah.
But that's yeah, because I'm probably not wired the same way as everybody that's in Air Force medics. It's also, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's still a little combat arms in the old DNA, right? But
Yeah.
just like yeah, but I mean, it was, you know, definitely that everything's on lockdown. March yourself back in onesies, twosies. We, you know, we were
Yeah.
under attack, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then things kind of adjusted, and within 2 or 3 days, you know, we were able to kind of march back and go, you know, go take that written test and pass it and get my EMT cert, and then kind of button up a little bit more training on the back end. But no, it's a really good program, and that was just I mean, that was just a wild day and wild time,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? And you know, but
And
like,
and you're right. Everybody knows where they were when it went down, 9/11, the planes, all that stuff. So, and it's very interesting because a lot of guys from our era like that. I like hearing where they were, because it's some were in Okinawa, some were in Germany, some were. I mean, they were all over.
mhm.
So seeing the different perspectives of how everybody reacted is definitely interesting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, and then I had known people who had been in classes before me and stuff that had deployed to like Walter Reed, right? They were
Yeah.
active duty, and so they were doing their follow-on training and stuff like over there. So those guys and gals were getting you know, deployed to the Pentagon,
Yep.
and other things like that were actually more, you know, physically in it, and so,
Hmm.
you know, have a little contact with them and hear about that stuff. So it was definitely a little champing at the bit, kind of to try and go get through all this and then deploy. But
Yeah. Yeah.
that didn't kind of ever end up happening, which was weird. So
So and then okay, so you once you finished the or got your certificate, right? Did at that point did they send you to your back to your home station, or how did that work?
yeah, so once you get your initial you know, OJT, not OJT, but once you get your initial training done, right?
Hmm.
In your, you know, we call it an AFSC, Air Force Specialty Code, or
Right.
MOS, right?
Yeah.
Then you go to a like seasoning training, and so that's more the OJT. And there's a
Okay.
big, you know, there's a big master training list where you kind of rotate different specialties and areas of a hospital and get
Ah, I see.
exposure to stuff and training. So that's several months long, about 3 or 4 months long. And then if you're in the guard or reserve, um, they tend to extend you another 3 months
Oh, wow.
so that you can really fill out your training plan, because not
Right.
every guard and reserve base has that you know, some of those core skills, hospital skills,
Yeah.
you know, different things like that, right?
That
So
makes sense.
yeah, so that's what I ended up going to Offutt Air Force Base,
Okay.
Bellevue, Nebraska, right outside Omaha, and that's where I did my my OJT, my initial OJT, and then they kind of shammed me and kept me on for my 3 months of seasoning training. So like good work begets more work, and they were like, dude, we got a live one. Yeah, so I was supposed to go to Travis Air Force Base in California.
Oh,
that didn't
it would have
happen.
been a little different. Different.
I mean, nah, but I had a good time. I learned a lot. It's what it was. It snowed, etc.
A lot.
Yeah,
snowed a lot.
yeah. So, but it was it was good. It was good. And then after that, I basically drove back to the Pacific Northwest, man. And
okay.
And, the following first weekend of the next month, went down to Portland, did my first drill weekend, and then that's kind of what it was, and went on from there.
So just out of curiosity, when you're going down to your first drill, was your first drill experience pretty much the same throughout? Like whenever you would go in for your drill, was it once a month?
Yeah, mostly. There's a few variances, but generally, yeah, it was more the what we were doing is our own personal training, our own stuff, but generally more of that like industrial hygiene / like making sure that our basically the
like
pilots,
medical readiness.
Medical readiness. Thank you. There you go.
Yeah.
And so we're doing these. We're getting people ready. We're doing the physical exams, eye exams, obviously all the vaccinations, things like that. Managing all that paperwork and deployment folders for the PJs, the pilots, all the ground crew people. And so that's like the primary show up on a Saturday morning mission is just all of that stuff. And then you're doing, the next day is a Sunday, and it's generally that, computer login. It used to be less computers initially. By the end of my service, it's all online, like, sim lab. But it was, go show up and then Sundays was train, right? So you'd maybe do, research your CPR, your basic life support stuff, or EMS stuff, and or if there's base training, right? We all, CBRNE, chemical, explosive, nuclear, biological, like gas, baby. So we're huddled up in a room putting on gas masks and what are those charcoal lined?
Oh yeah.
I forget the name of them.
Those are
fun
to
J-list. Yeah. Well, it was okay when they went to the J list and it was like little encapsulated beads as opposed to just like putting them on and being in blackface or something. It was like that. The original stuff was rough, man.
Yeah. You're right. It was. That's funny. So, so you were basically working while you were doing this as well, right? Because you're reserve.
Yeah.
So what were you doing? What was your job?
Well, so out in the civilian world.
Yeah.
I had a couple. I was paid call volunteering for the fire department. So I gotten a little fire training and gotten a EMS cert in the state of Washington, which is the same but different than the National Registry. So I was volunteering, paid call for that, and I was a grease monkey, man. I was doing oil changes. Yeah. So I was doing that full time. The reserve, and then eventually, after a couple of years, I had done a little bit of school, started a little bit of junior college. But then I started working part time at St. Joseph's Hospital up here in Bellingham. The only game in town is a security guard, so I was kind of on call, fill in, sick call, and then I did that for a couple of years. At one point, I had like 3.5 jobs. I don't know, whatever it was. And then I started
places.
And then I started doing security full time. And college. And I kind of done basically, amalgamated, between that 1 year of, university up in Canada. And then this, I kind of like 2 years and change. I had a bunch of credits and really trying to figure out by then where I was going to, the direction I was going to go with the rest of my life as far as civilian work went. So that was the, initially tried to get into a Tacoma Community College to be a paramedic. That I got accepted, but it ended up falling through on a technicality, stupid math credit. So again, wasn't supposed to be there, obviously. Supposed to be doing something else. And but yeah, so I mean, basically, what at that time I had was I was an NCO. I was an E5, promotable to E6. They had just closed down my base in Portland. The Congress bracketed it, so the reserve component was done, and that's when I transferred up to Camp Murray, outside JBLM there, or that Tacoma area, and like right at that time, I went into that, and that's when a bunch of us security guards from the hospital all started going to the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office Corrections Division.
Oh, so, wow. Okay.
Yeah, one guy went, and I don't know, man, after like 6 months, he shows back up in a full sheriff's kit, like bat belt and everything, like
nice,
yarding an inmate into the ER, you know, to guard him and do whatever. And he's, oh, it's the best, man. You get to play dress up, you take care of these people, get paid decent.
Yeah.
You know, more money than I'd ever made hourly. Right.
And, yeah, for sure.
But, you know, the training was good. It was really good. Yeah, it was really good, like sheriff's office to be in, and especially corrections division at the time. So once he went, then a couple other guys went, and, you know, I had my concerns and fears I wouldn't be able to get hired right on the polygraph, just childhood shenanigans and other things that, you know, I was smart enough to never get caught for, but I thought for sure I wouldn't be able to be hired. And then when a couple of degenerates in front of me got hired, I was like, dude, if they hire these two guys, I'm
golden.
Fine. And that's a fact. I said that on my polygraph. Like, hey, you concerned about anything? Absolutely not. No. So
yeah, not now.
No. For sure before. Now, it's gonna be good. So
that's pretty awesome. So you ended up getting hired with him, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then still doing the reserve thing, going back and forth, because you said E5 promotable to E6 at this point.
Yeah. I put on my E6, put on my tech sergeant.
Got it.
So supervising a lot of training, a lot of EMS training, doing a lot of, you know, just troop management, right? So you got to corral the kids, make sure you're getting the training, doing a lot of, you know, training monitoring and all that. And then we had the Surf P, right? So it was kind of one of those CBRNE deployability, like rapid response things was kicking up. So I kind of gotten into that, right? So I was getting a little extra side training and like emergency management, some of this communications, acronyms. Yeah. But like hazmat responder training stuff. So, you know, doing a little bit more than just the 2 weeks a year. It's a little bit more than 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. Right. And doing that and working at the jail. And I put about 2.5 years in at the jail before I applied and tested, and then went to patrol with the sheriff's office. So as that was all kind of happening, basically I promoted to E7 master sergeant, and halfway through my career, and then got hired as a sheriff's deputy, like on patrol. Very nice.
Okay. Now, what was your experience working in the jail, and then now going to work in patrol? What did you see? What were the differences for you?
Yeah, well, so the difference is when you're working in a jail, there's a lot of camaraderie because you're working with, you know, people in that booking area or another guy on the floor or gal. And so you're constantly with these people for that, you know, that 10-hour shift, right? Or the overtime you get forced to work, right? So, you know, that was nice because then there's like a brother and sisterhood who you're really spending time with these other corrections deputies. And even gosh, I mean, and even some of the inmates, not all of them are extreme scumbags, right? So
Right.
there's some of them are actually fun to be around and take
Yeah.
care of. Here's your food, right? There's respect goes both ways. And,
Hmm.
so that in and of itself can be like enjoyable too, right? Like I'm not dumb enough to get manipulated by an arch criminal, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
it does happen, but I'm like, not to me. So, yeah, no, I mean, I really enjoyed it. And then,
Yeah.
but it's just kind of one of those things where it was a lot of just kind of caring for and serving the criminals, right? Because they need their food, they need their
Right. Yeah.
raises. Then you got to search all the cells on rotation. You got to give them all the crap, take them to see their lawyer. So there's a lot of
Hmm.
that, and then a lot of data entry. And
Hmm.
so really it was a sit down, shoot the crap, do data entry, booking people in, shuffling them about. You could get into some transport stuff where you're transporting people to and from court or up and down the
Yeah.
I-5 corridor, which was fine and all right. But I mean, this is a pretty easy and comfortable job. It's a
Right.
job you um, could really get figured out pretty quick
Yeah.
and be real proficient at, and it didn't require usually too much problem solving. Not to say that there weren't emergency situations or fights or different things that cropped up
Right.
that, did kind of make it a little bit more thought provoking or,
Hmm.
exciting, but it was a good job. If the opportunity hadn't presented itself, I mean, I could have stayed there in corrections and had a great career. I mean, I
Right.
really enjoyed the people I worked with, but I mean, unfortunately, it's one of those also like for a lot of people, it's kind of a leapfrog job
Hmm.
where you do that to kind of get experience to
Yeah.
then be more hireable um, at at other police departments or sheriff's offices and stuff.
Right. 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 So now talk to me a little bit about your experience when you went to the patrol side.
Yeah, so when I went to the patrol side, obviously went to the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Center, the
Hmm.
CJTC, the Basic Law Enforcement Academy, and so that was about 5.5 months to 6 months.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and when I went through, it's always harder when you went through than what it is
Yeah.
now. That's just
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's just what it is, right? They
Yeah.
used to hit
Back in
people in
my
the
day.
70s or something. Exactly. So back in my day, it was hard. It was awesome. It was I would explain it as a kind of a full-time live-in junior college
Hmm.
educational experience, but with a rigorous physical training course as
Yeah.
well, right? And it was very paramilitary, right? You're bracing the halls and stepping off to the side to let real cops walk through and
Right.
call
Right. Right.
calling the
Right.
room to attention. And so being prior military, there was a couple of us in there, and um, in my class, and it's kind of like anything else, kind of like basic training or anything else. There's people from all over, Washington or the PNW
Hmm.
different experience. There's 21-year-old kids with a 4-year degree just out of college, all the way up to I was in the old guy dorm with I was 26 at the time. Yeah, I was 26.
Okay.
My roommate was 27, and then the other
Hmm.
two guys that shared the little flat with us were 39 and 40.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And the
That's a
40-year-old dude
big,
was,
big, sweeping, wide range there. I mean,
yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah, it was wild. And then, yeah, and then the old guy, I think he's retired now, but he was almost a biblical theology doctor from Duke. So he left the East Coast with his wife to come over and settle in Central Washington. And
What? No
yeah,
kidding.
yeah, exactly. Like, he was the president of our class. I was the vice president, and we were in the
Yeah.
same dorm building. But just wild to be like, he's like, no, man, just wasn't for me. Didn't publish the doctoral
Wow.
thesis, but here I am, and it's just like me, right? Like, gonna be a cop.
Yeah. 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 That's awesome. All right, so once you get through that training and everything, now you get pushed out to where did you go? Like,
So yeah, in the state of Washington, you get hired by the agency
uh-huh.
that you're gonna
Oh, that you go to.
work for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and so on TV, movies, and in other states, you either you pay for yourself to go to the academy or you get sponsored or God knows. And then it's a clearinghouse, right? Like who
Yeah.
wants you? If you're the honor grad, the good agency, you have the pick of the litter or something. In Washington, you get hired, you get sworn in, and then they
Mm-hmm.
do whatever opening intro, get you
Got
your
it.
sweatpants and your gun and your vest and send you to the academy. And so,
Mm-hmm.
so I went right back and I went into
Okay.
field training, right? So then you leave and then you go FTO, or you get field trained by field training officers from your agency.
Okay. And what now when you talk about that, I'm assuming you're kind of on patrol with somebody and just kind of escorting or not escorting, but left seat, right seat type of thing.
Yeah, generally it varies by agency. I mean, for the sheriff's office, and this was obviously back in '09.
Mm-hmm.
It was I was driving the first day. Now usually like the first day, maybe even the first week, the students watching you, because it's based on the San Jose training model, which is a really
Yeah.
good OJT police training model,
Mm-hmm.
um, for training people up and also for canning people who can't cut it. So and to avoid all the stuff that goes with firing somebody from a
Yeah.
family wage job, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that was way more stressful than the police academy, or that was because that's just you're
Really?
constantly being watched and
Oh,
judged
yeah, I can see that.
and
Yeah.
monitored, and you can go be a high performer in a police academy. You can go crush every mock scene where
Uh-huh.
another student or another cop or role players acting naughty, right? And you're
Mm-hmm.
jamming them up.
Yeah.
But like when you go out and get in the wild, if you haven't worn a uniform, it's very weird. It's
Okay.
initially it is something that you have to go learn and get comfortable just being in a police uniform
That
and
makes sense.
driving around in a marked car. So between that and getting judged and harshly too, because they want to,
Yeah.
you don't do well initially. By the end, you do, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's repetition. But yeah, and you also have to walk and chew gum, man. You got to drive, listen to a radio, know where you're going,
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
shaken down. Like, where are we at? Where are we at right now? Like, oh God, and God forbid you turn the lights and sirens on. So it's just I mean, the first month is just a battle of like stress, try not to get overwhelmed, not get
Right.
lost, and don't F up the call you're going to. And
Yeah.
but obviously there's a, senior certified field training officer there with you to, teach you, let
Yeah.
you let you mess up, give you some rope to hang yourself with, but not all the way.
Yeah.
And then obviously they're gonna step in and stop you from fully stepping on your crank or doing something stupid. But
Yeah.
it's an awesome program. I think, I did it in 3 months. I think most people who get retained back then you do. Nowadays there's a lot of extensions and
Oh,
other
wow.
building processes, and
Yeah.
they've even added a month before you start the 3-month process to just get you squared away on our
No
records
kidding.
management system and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah, I
sink
can
so
see
much
that.
money into these kids. By the time you test them, hire them, polygraph
Mm-hmm.
them, send them to an academy for 6 months, buy them a gun and a bunch of kit, you don't want to not retain them. You need them to
Yeah.
go work, right? So
Yeah.
giving them 4 weeks to go do some DT training,
Mm-hmm.
giving them a full week to just play around in the records management data system is
Right.
nice. Like, I didn't have that. It was like, hey, we got some
Good
evidence on
luck.
day 3. Let's go book evidence. Guess who doesn't
Yeah.
know how to book evidence for crap? This guy, right? You get a 2 on the day. You're a dummy, But by the 3rd, 4th time you're doing it, it's like, all right, you're meeting solo officer standards. You're trucking.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the end, you're basically just doing it on your own, but getting watched, right?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's It's a wild process. I think a lot of people, like the Colin Kaepernicks of the world, think that there's no training and nothing else, and it's just 5 months of school, and hairdressers go to school longer. And it's like, yeah, initially, but absolutely not. And the training never ends. The in-service
Oh
training,
yeah.
the this, the that, the other specialty stuff.
I
So
mean,
yeah, that's a
I would
shit.
agree with that. Cops are always training something, as they should be, that
Mhm.
there's always something new that they got a new threat or, a new thing that's happening around town or whatever.
And the laws change.
Oh, oh
There's
yeah.
no other profession where what you're allowed to do by law and policy is more of a moving target.
Mm,
And so you're constantly with legal updates and with, with other things like that. That's one of the reasons why I liked that job, and got into it, was just because the mental challenge to be, I mean, you could almost get a monkey to be an adequate cop, if you just beat him over the head with a policy manual. But if you want to be a good cop, you got to stay up on the case law, man. You got to
yeah.
be smart, and and that's how you, yeah, that's how you go out in the wild and get after it, and
Yeah,
stack
yeah,
up real
yeah.
criminals is by knowing the rules and playing within that box. And so,
Yeah,
uh,
knowing what the box is so you can play inside of it.
yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Now, at this point, because you had said a little bit ago that you had been promoted to master sergeant at that point. So were you
Mhm.
still doing the reserve thing,
Yeah,
going
yeah.
through all that? You were.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a big overlap. I was in the reserve or the guard. I did the last like 13 years of my career at Camp Murray, and I was master sergeant the last 10 years of it.
Okay.
And yeah, basically I was running training. I was the supervisor over all the other medics. Um, not my active duty work wife counterpart who is full time, but
Mm-hmm.
all the others, on the weekend basis. And then I was also teaching for counter drug. So
Oh, wow.
that was a program funded through like National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a schoolhouse on Camp Murray, and so I would teach with um, that first group. So Green Beret medics, 18 whiskey or Delta whiskey, whatever. We would go teach TCCC around the country, like up to the Mississippi and over. We'd go teach TCCC to state, federal, and local law enforcement. And
Wow.
so, yeah, so it was a free program that people could schedule these 3 to 5 day courses. And we would, basically, I would just be deployed on loan to counter drug and would fly over and do a training block in TCCC.
So
So
that would basically be your time, whatever it was that you did for your once a month, the weekend.
no, that was apart
No?
from that. That was apart from that.
Oh,
So
wow.
I
Okay.
was just double dipping, and I would use up all my extra. I think I had 2 weeks of military leave through Whatcom County, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
like double pay. So I would use it all up. I had the weekend off,
Smart.
and
Yeah.
then yeah, and but in the meantime, I was also teaching TCCC, tactical combat casualty care. I'm sure most of your
Yeah.
listeners know what I'm talking about, but but it was nice because when I was first hired and kind of got off FTO, I was able to throw away the crappy plastic tackle boxes of Band-Aids and an eye patch and I don't even know, an ice pack, some like,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah, yeah,
blue
yeah.
one, some of
There
that
was always
dumb
that little
crap.
blue. Yeah.
And we instilled a TCCC program for the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office. And
Nice.
so this was a decade and a half before it became canon. Because right now in the state of Washington, and it has been for probably the last 5 years, it's standard curriculum. So
Oh, wow.
you learn those, tactical combat casualty skills at a base level in the academy, but it's part of recurring training that you have to do for the state of Washington now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so yeah, it was really good to be able to instill that, and then also when I wasn't teaching counter drug, because that kind of came and went and then went, um, I was able to teach locally too, in like Island County here next to a Skagit a little bit, and then city of Bellingham,
Mm-hmm.
until they got their guys spun up. So it was super helpful. Just, I mean, my Air Force career, although deployment wise, zero, right? Very
Yeah.
unremarkable other than some trainings and some TDY stuff. But the counter drug was awesome, and got to train a lot of people around the nation in,
Yeah.
really, important life-saving stuff. Right. And then
Yeah,
just,
absolutely.
then just handing out tourniquets, like, use it. It's good. It's not bad. Not bad anymore. It's not the 80s.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
get after it. Get to saving people.
yeah. I love it. And you talking, well, you didn't have a deployment, there wasn't anything there for that, but I got to be honest, when you talk about law enforcement and what they see on a daily basis and what they go through, uh, is, I would venture to say, probably more so than what a lot of the combat vets see. So I just that alone, in your day-to-day interactions, I mean, you never know what you're going to get. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah, and I forget what smarter person on a podcast said this, but it kind of, the difference is it's usually not as acute as the ambush you stepped
Yeah.
into that one day on your first deployment, but
Hmm.
it's the chronic, it's the
Yeah.
chronic stress, it's the chronic heightened level of alertness, and you said it well too. It's just like, yeah, it builds up, and it builds up over time. And, it's, everyone has a capacity for it at some, to some degree. And at
Yeah.
some point, depending on what happens to you, you can, reach or exceed that. And
Mhm.
for me, I was fortunate enough. I got into our interdiction unit, which called CIT, Criminal Interdiction Team, but it was really a guns, drugs, and money. Um,
Mm.
we didn't generally respond to patrol calls unless they were
Right.
hot calls, right?
Hmm.
But we were out arresting the robbers and the gang members, and
Yeah.
assisting our undercover drug task force people and all these federal task forces. So I live up on the border, right? So there's feds
Yeah.
everywhere. Just basically, yeah, being the bagman for them. So 5 years of running and gunning and adventuring was the best. It's
Yeah.
the greatest job in law enforcement, but also stressful. So it's like
Yeah.
a year doing that's like a tour of duty. It's just like, because
Yeah.
it's self-driven, and generally speaking, and so you put a lot of, I mean, put a lot of stress on myself to go get that felon a day, right? If
Yeah.
not more.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's plenty of people out there breaking the law, and so that
True.
was, probably my proudest achievement was being able to get into that unit and do it, and I feel do it well.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like you said, like you start living in that life, and you start seeing this daily, a little bit of daily human misery,
Yeah.
that victimization. It's just like this
Yeah.
blows. It's it does get toxic, you know.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, for sure. Now, when you talk about in the military, now they're getting much better on the therapy side or the mental health aspect of things. How is it up there for you guys as law enforcement?
Well, so I can say that over 18 and a half years with the sheriff's office and 16 and a half were on patrol, it's gotten better incrementally over
Hmm.
time, like year by year by year. And so, which it sucks, but in general, the DOD starts to figure it out first,
Hmm.
and then that stuff starts coming out, and it gains acceptance, right? And so, and obviously the podcast sphere was hugely important with that, and shedding a light
Yeah.
to it, and bringing stuff, and um these guys and gals that deploy that have this trauma, post-traumatic stress,
Hmm.
PTSD, uh, it becomes more and more acceptable. And the issue with law enforcement, though, is where there was a lag, and I think we've caught up to it, is that there's a weird stoicism that it's different than the military, and it's like, who's been injured at work, who's killed someone at work. It's like, you're not going to get, no one's raising their hands when
Yeah.
guest speakers in the auditorium, or that, like,
Mm-hmm.
like who's seen this, who's done that, right? Like, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, on a hand, how many dead babies have you seen? And
Yeah.
I say that, but when I say that, it's just about
Yeah.
everybody who's been a cop for more than 3 years can hold up at least one finger, if not more.
Oh yeah.
But that's just one of those things where it's just like you eat it and stuff it down and just kind of like puff up your chest and are like, no, like I'm fine.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a self-preservation maintenance at the individual level and as just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like a law enforcement thing. But that's been broken down and eroded by a lot of, veterans
Mm-hmm.
and other people and other cops.
Yeah.
Because as cops that other cops would respect have these issues, have PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
leave the force, do other things, and they share their stories. Now that starts to chip that away, right?
Yeah.
There's still
Yeah.
going to be that.
Absolutely.
You need to have it to preserve yourself, but seeking help, getting counseling, getting these things, it's just been easier and easier and more supported.
Right.
I have personal experiences that from early in my career that, like just wild stuff that then I'm at work the next day.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't, that wouldn't happen now. So I can say, well, I'm on a podcast. So there's a robbery with a shotgun and it's fleeing the city of Bellingham, and
Mm-hmm.
Bellingham PD's in the big conga line. And these two gang members from Central Washington have a shotgun. They're firing at police. They end up crashing at a roundabout out in the county, and everyone gets out in well, it wasn't much of a gunfight, but they got lit up pretty good. But as this is going
Yeah.
on, I pull into the back end, and there's I follow another police sergeant from Bellingham up there, Don Almer, and he ends up like taking out the gunman with
Mm-hmm.
4 more rifle shots while I'm covering him. And we go down there, clear the passenger out of the car, do this other stuff. I kind of get things settled down. But then I started doing aid on the guy who had been shot 9 times. And so I essentially bathing in this guy's blood, saving
Mm-hmm.
his life. And then, but because I didn't shoot at or shoot anybody,
Mm.
I was there on scene for 4 more hours. And then I went to work the next day.
Yeah.
You want to talk about an adrenaline dump? Like
Oh my
I might
God.
as well have eaten a Xanax and a Valium. Just
Yeah.
like I was completely worthless. And
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't have been at work, right?
Yeah.
But it was a great story. I mean, I loved it in the moment. I was like, but that now to when I was leaving work and when other critical incidents happen, no, you're sent home. They're checking on you, and
That's awesome.
administrators sending you home immediately. You're taking your 3 days off on
Yeah.
like paid, not punishment admin leave, or we're
Yeah.
telling the newspapers we're looking into it. No, it was just your personal health, and mental
Yeah.
health is, you need that cycle to if as high as you get, you're going to crash just as low, and then you got to get back to equilibrium. And
Right. Yeah.
those things have, fortunately, because of the war on terror and everything that's happened, law enforcement finally got into it. And once we really bought in, then it's really accelerated.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
At least
And
over here.
I think that the important part is there 100%, and it's we understand that there's more to it, and that it's not a career-ending thing to say, "Hey, I'm struggling. I need a little help." At least in the military side, and I'm assuming it's the same on the law enforcement side. But
No, it absolutely is. And I mean, if you go to them, even if it's some substance abuse,
right,
alcohol, if you go to them hat in hand, they will take care of you. They'll do everything to take care of you. You get caught driving drunk, like that's your
yeah,
career, right? Like you
hmm
can absolutely implode your career. And, unfortunately it's kind of righteously so. We're out in the public, right? We have to maintain, what we can, right?
yeah,
As far as public perception and respect and all that. But if you're struggling, they will work with you. They will help you. I worked for an amazing agency that, zero pushback on anything, very supportive. And like even to the point of like the sheriff making statements in the local rag, the Bellingham Herald, about just like fully supportive of his deputies, in every regard. And
Yeah.
and fortunately, when it came to these critical incidences, they were all doing everything right the way they were trained and that. But so it makes it easy. But the fact that it happened, right, as opposed to some
Right.
of the things you see or read, and especially in the great People's Republic of Washington, um,
Hmm.
it's not always the case. And so I was blessed to have that. That takes a lot of stress off, and that's
Oh yeah, for sure.
infinitely better for your mental health. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
sure.
That just having anybody to, there to support you on the decisions that you're making. That's just fantastic.
Yeah.
That's leadership right there, in my opinion.
Amen. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Well, I do have another question for you.
Yeah.
I get caught up on Facebook, YouTube, the social media realm, and there are so many videos about cops and then wow, what are they,
Oh
constitutional,
yeah. Yeah.
whatever it is, right? Where guys are filming. What in the world? I mean, that's just insane to me.
And so here's the thing, in the state of Washington, we I think really got hip to it pretty quick.
Yeah.
In other states, there's different attitudes, there's different levels of professionalism. There's no standard state and local law enforcement nationwide. So I
Hmm.
think as you get to the West Coast, it's maybe a little bit more education, a little bit more professionalism, a little bit
Hmm.
we're under the thumb of oppression of the Ninth
Yeah.
Circuit Court of Appeals. But so we're like, fine, do your thing. Film us, audit, right? And so
Hmm.
the beauty of it is, and they actually passed a law like you can film law enforcement. So the state of Washington, canonized it. Like, yeah, you can, but you also can't obstruct my investigation, right? You
Right.
can't
Yeah.
interfere. So it's like, sure, cool, record me. I know where, because this goes back to using your brain, being a thinker.
Yeah.
When you're field trainer training people, like, know where they can't record, right? No,
Yeah.
you can't walk into a private doctor's office and start filming people. It's a HIPAA violation.
Right. Yeah.
Slap the damn phone out of your hand. Get out of here. And then, or opposed to, yes, there's been so many times. I'm sure there's several videos of me online where someone's just a siren chaser listening to a scanner going to film, and it's like, hey, hello, sir. Yeah, you can absolutely film me if you could just stand right here. Have a good day. I'll be back to answer any questions if you have it. Oh, gee, wow. Well, thanks. Just completely disarm them, and
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
because they're there to make a splash, or they're there to get monetized
Oh yeah.
on their YouTube page, or they're there to get a lawsuit. They're
Yeah.
carrying a suppressed 223 SBR on their back with an open carry, and Washington's an
Yeah.
open carry state, so they got their Glock or whatever. It's always a 1911. What am I kidding? Freaking gun nerds. But yeah, it's a baby game to get it's a baby game to get their civil rights violated, so they can get a
Right.
quick 10-30 grand out of
Yeah, that makes sense.
coppers of the agency. It's just like, so don't give it to them. And then honestly, it splashes huge. But then also, I think, and at least for me, and I know our agency and how we train people, but I can tell you that for me, I know what my authority is. And if you are interfering with my investigation, like, you'll be asked very nicely and kindly to cease and desist and given an
Hmm.
option to do something. But if you're going to interfere, I'm going to arrest you. And
Yeah.
so that's plainly seen. So, the baby games, I'm a free traveler, this and that. I'm another, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, no, right? And here's why. And generally speaking, they get the flavor that I'm not playing. I'll shatter your window out. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
and it's happened, right? And so, but that's just it. It sounds like tough guy talk, but you start just so nice as pie, and just
Yeah.
disarm them. But then when it's just time to not play or stop, it's like, no, this is
Yeah.
how you deal with it. And then, that just next thing you know, the Deputy Rathbun's not a mark for that. The
Yeah.
sheriff's office isn't a mark, right? Like, Whatcom County Sheriff's Office has a reputation. It's different than the city, right?
Yeah.
Usually the case anywhere anyways, but it's, yeah, those things, then they kind of take care of themselves, and it's fewer and
Yeah.
farther between. And so it's just
That's
like,
a good point. Yeah. I like that.
so
Disarm them before it gets anywhere.
yeah, with
Yeah.
charm. Oh, just be
Oh,
charming in
yeah.
short doses. You just need that 30
Man.
seconds, right? But you also in the core, right? Like, be nice to everybody, have a plan to kill them.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Be your best friend, but have that plan. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. Well, shoot. You got anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, no, I think, well, I mean, right now, we could get glossed over a big part. I'm medically retired from the sheriff's office
Okay. Yeah.
now after a critical incident.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to say that, I made it through a Air Force career pretty unscathed.
Mm-hmm.
Seen some sick people, seen some death, trauma wise and stuff like that. But getting through a long career in both,
Yeah.
and in the sheriff's office, I can say that having to punch out and leave that job was brutal, and that was a product of post-traumatic stress and my reactions to some things, and also being blind in my left eye now, basically.
Yeah.
Physically incapable of safely operating an emergency vehicle, amongst a
Mm-hmm.
couple other things. And I just say that kind of going through that process, I know your show's definitely about mental health and seeking help and getting what it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a community in every community that'll support you, whether it's law enforcement, the DOD, your agency, if your agency's squared away like mine was, and even probably the state you're living in.
Yeah.
So I've been treated very well by every government entity that I've had to deal with my disability, with other things. And when I finally left, when I stacked up my truck July 6th, 5th, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
That's when I sought help. Right.
Yeah.
So, cognitive talk therapy,
Mm-hmm.
talking to a doctor about doing things for my sleep and stress and anxiety and stuff. I'm pretty medically literate, which, a lot of people maybe aren't necessarily. And that's a pretty common thing, right? You can be a cop, a soldier, be a financier. You don't know about medicine and in some cases. And sometimes when it's you or your family, everything goes out the window too. So I would just say that, man, taking care of yourself, right? Listening to your spouse, significant other, when people come to you and when people have to intervene for you, or you start getting a flavor that things are going off the rail, just check yourself, go seek that help and get it, and it'll work. And, it'll take time. You may never be the same, but I think you'll be, functional, right? You can be happy, you can transition, and you can work all that stuff out. And that's what that therapist is for. That's what these other communities are for, the groups, the things you can join. But yeah, I just say, don't hesitate. Right. I think generally, people who have served tend to try and, bottle it up and then suffer through and trudge on, and for too long and to our detriment. So
agreed.
There's no shame in it. And, if you're reading the comments where a Russian troll or some bots talking shit, like, you're in the wrong comments, man. Don't read them.
True.
It's go surround yourself with, positivity. Listen to your podcast, where veterans are, telling their story, and you're having these people on that are, support systems for them. And it's like, that's the way to healing. And that's the way to just, moving on and, functioning after your military career, or after your,
absolutely.
career you end up leaving.
Yeah. That's a great point, man. Now, did you retire from the military as well? So did
Yeah,
you have you
yeah,
have both,
I
right? Okay.
retired in 2021 after 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Very
I
nice.
got my
And now,
retirement.
now Air Force Master Sergeant say E7
Seven.
or 8? 7. Okay.
Seven. Yeah.
I know I always get confused on the because I've never really been around too many Air Force, so
Yeah.
it's a little off for me, but
Yeah. It goes
yeah,
senior
so
master
E7.
sergeant, E8, and then chief is an E9 after that.
Ah, okay. I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like it. I like it. Well, hey, I got a couple of questions for you. I always do these rapid fire questions toward the end.
Nice. Okay.
So we're gonna do a little bit of that if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
All right. What was your proudest military moment?
Wow. I tackled the I tackled the active shooter guy from the MP squadron when they were doing the live training. I laid that clown out. No, he's a good dude. I ended up training his guys in T-Triple-C like 3 months later, but that was fun. That was shocked, and then the medical squadron was no longer a soft target for
Nice.
Miles gear and live rounds. I enjoyed that. I guess the first one that comes to mind.
Okay, I like it. All right. What was your most embarrassing military moment?
Oh my gosh. What was embarrassing? I'm trying to think. I remember being at end of the first week of PJ school. I was wearing a child's set of goggles with the little shark fin on the top because we were running laps up and down a hall drinking all this Gatorade because some idiot from the last class almost killed himself and went into rhabdo. And so,
Oh
like,
God.
literally, the most embarrassing thing is wearing little, PJ short shorts and my training top with this little shark fin hat, throwing up a gallon of red Gatorade out back in the schoolhouse with like three other guys. It's just sweaty and tears running down your eyes. And then like,
Uh,
yeah, it was so silly. I mean, it's funny. I don't know how embarrassing it is, but I guess, I mean, yeah,
I
it's a weird
like that
place to
one.
be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good story though. I like that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Um,
Silly.
all right. So, if you could change one rule in the military, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, one rule.
Yeah.
I had not thought about this. I think I would like to change the promotion standard for senior leadership in the Air Force, and at
Ooh,
least
okay.
at least the Air Guard, right? It's different in the Guard and Reserve than the testing requirements. Active duty
Yeah.
is much harder. It's based on awards, deployment things, testing. In the Guard, if you have a Guard and Reserve, there's a few, like there's an education requirement that you have to have like a 2-year degree or 4-year degree, 2-year degree at least to like promote to senior,
Mm-hmm.
or your CCAF. And it's like, well, then aren't you halfway to being an officer? I think, I
Yeah.
think there are some senior leaders that are in place because they have a side civilian education that serves their civilian purposes that
Mm-hmm.
don't make them a good military leader. And
Mm.
they just are in the right place at the right time with the right education, which is a huge part of promotion, right? Have your stuff
True.
wired
Yeah.
right. And I'm for that, but there's a lot of leadership that withers on the
Mm.
vine, that maybe could have
I can see
ascended,
that.
right? So I guess I would say I would change that.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good answer. All right. So, what was the other one? It was just there and then it walked away. Man, hold on. Oh,
Happens.
if you could be one military leader for a day, who would that be?
Oh my gosh, dude, this is rough. Oh man. I mean, you gotta. I'm gonna blank on the guy's name because there's a few. With my family's rich naval heritage
Ooh.
going back to the Revolutionary War, I would
Uh-huh.
say John Paul Jones, man. I'd go be a
Oh,
American pirate for a day.
Okay.
Yeah,
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 why not?
yeah. That's a good one. I like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. In the zombie apocalypse, what would be your weapon of choice, and what theme song would be playing?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think I would. I just like a standard, 223.
Okay.
SPR suppressed if I had the money for the tax stamps, but
Yeah.
they just give me a 223 with a bunch of 30 round mags, and I'm gonna forget the name of the band. I think EMF's "This Is the Best." I'm
Ooh,
ripping
okay.
around killing zombies. Like
Yeah.
I'm there for the zombie apocalypse. That's my time to shine. I think all my
Nice.
skills amalgamate. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. That's good. That's good. I love it. All right. Which branch of the military has the sexiest uniform?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know, dude. It's a toss up between the Navy whites and the Marine Corps' dress uniform, man. The
Ooh,
blood
yeah.
stripe on the side. And I know the Marines Department of the Navy. I mean, I don't know, dude. I got to go with the Navy whites. I
Yeah,
got
the
to give
Navy
a little
whites do look good. I gotta admit it,
homage
they
to the
do.
dad.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. And then which branch of the service is the best?
Oh man, this is so hard. You're gonna put. I might be the only Air Force vet that doesn't just jump out and say, "Of course, the Air Force." Um, it ain't gonna be the
Well, you
puddle
have
pilots.
you have a lot of people on
I
different
know I'm
areas, so
torn. I'm torn. Like I have a man, like I love the history and the origins of the Marine Corps.
yeah.
And but I loved and served the Air Force, and it's hard to hear an Air Force joke over the sound of an A-10 Warthog demolishing all of the Taliban. It, but if I'm listening to war stories, generally I'm not signing up to hear an Air Force one. So, come on, man, that's a draw.
All
That's a
right, all right.
draw.
I'll give you that. I'll give you
Since I explained my position.
that. So, if as you look past your career, you look past both military and then also law enforcement, and you look back over everything, would you do it all again?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I probably do it the same way. Maybe change one or two things at the very end, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you know, but yeah, no, I mean, I loved it. It's been a heck of a ride, and just to be able to have hundreds of great stories, and just I mean, it's once you get talking, you can keep talking forever if you keep,
Oh yeah.
pulling that thread, getting those memories brought up. And um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, hey, like life's short, you only get one of them, so I don't have a problem or regret being ridden hard and put away wet. And
I like it.
I have a new nursing career ahead of me that I'm going to probably have to do for 20-25 years.
Okay.
um, but that's going to be great too, and
Mm-hmm.
probably less
I don't
detrimental
know.
to me physically.
Well,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like physically, yeah, yeah, maybe.
mentally, it
Mentally,
depends. We'll find out.
yeah, it depends on what you're doing, but
But I like
yeah,
that stuff. I like it. I
yeah,
like the
yeah.
blood. So, you
Okay.
know, but yeah, no, I wouldn't change a thing, man. Like go hard while you can do it. You only get to serve so long,
Yeah.
and then they
True.
and then they force you out, and
Mm-hmm.
depending on what happens to you while you're serving your community as a cop. I mean, God love all the cops who stayed in the state of Washington after COVID. You're out there doing the
Mm-hmm.
Lord's work. Um, and
Yeah, good point.
it's God love all the vets who've served and then come out and are dumb enough to come be cops instead of firefighters. So bless them too. It's You could make better decisions. And but no, like, thank you, because I mean we need it, right? So
That's right.
let's
Oh,
make the
that's too
best
funny.
cops. They just can't and won't always do it, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and rightfully so. Know your
Mm-hmm.
know your limitations.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's important. You got to know it. All right. Well, this is I always at the end have words of wisdom. But So this is your time to give us words of wisdom, something that you want to, guess, leave the listeners with.
Man, take care of yourself and take care of your family. Careers come and go. Unfortunately, sometimes marriages do too. But your family, your children, those relationships, the relationships with the people that you served most closely with, and the people that your brothers and sisters with. If you're in law enforcement, cultivate those relationships, maintain them. That's going to be what's going to save you and them, later on. And in that vein, if you need help, seek help. It's there for you. And that'll get you across the finish line. That'll get you through the next half of your life and happy.
Very nice. I like it. Well, Brian, thanks for coming on and doing this, man. I've had a blast listening to your story. It's been fun. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself. And then, yeah, you're going to have to come back on sometime and just chat and have a good time with us.
Well, I'd love to. I think there's a whole round that we've maybe glossed over. So,
yeah. Well, there always is. There always is.
Definitely.
But we'll try and get you on for a fireside chat sometime. So with all my other buddies that come on, and we can all talk crap and have a good time. It'd be fun.
That sounds amazing, man.
Awesome. All right. Well, to all the listeners out there, if you're struggling and need help, anything like that, don't forget the VA does have some great resources. You can always dial 988, press option 1. You can text 838-255, or you can go to veteranscrisisline.net and click on the chat icon. Any of those options will put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. But remember, one veteran life lost is one too many. I care about you. I know Ryan cares about you. The whole veteran community cares about you, so please reach out for help. And if you're out there, you're not struggling, reach out to the buddies you serve with, ask them how they're doing, and if they need that helping hand, please give it to them. All right, Ryan, one last time, thanks. Truly appreciate it. To all the listeners out there, stay motivated, change your socks.